way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay?
Come on.
You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.
So this is Assemblyman Mr. Bryan. He's mad I brought up the reparations vote. So he's preventing me from speaking. And he's trying to block my access here. Why are you so upset?
You vote for 3 strikes, you put black folks in prisons, but now you want to be a reparations person. But you won't vote for the bill. I supported the bill all session.
Then bring the bill.
Will you vote for the bill, Mr.
Bring the bill.
Will you vote for the bill?
Bring it up.
Will you vote for reparations?
Bring it up.
I would love it.
Bring it up.
Let's vote for reparations
Bring
together.
It up. Bring it up.
You in, Bill?
Bring it up.
I didn't think so.
Bring it up. I'll vote for it. Bring it up. I'll vote for it.
Bring it up. I'll vote for it. Bring it up. I'll vote for it.
Test 1 2. 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 Okay. Test 1 2. We are good. Thanks everyone for joining, and for those who will be joining on the replay. Appreciate you. This is the Me and the Mass Media Group, your number one source for reparations and news in the universe. All right, just had to do a quick mic check. That was Assembly Member Isaac Bryan in the beginning of that clip, and also before that, that was Reparations Now, the documentary, available on Tubi. Go check that out right now if you have not seen it. Also, go to etnmediagroupstore.com. That's etnmediagroupstore.com. Check out the latest merch. And also, we got to update this slide. We actually officially are the Coalition for Just and Equitable, come on, get it right, man. Equitable CJEC store. So we're going to have to update this slide so we can start promoting some CJEC merch as well. So speaking of, before we do that, actually, let's go to Amazon. It's actually in the link. You guys can support this channel. If you shop on Amazon, click on that affiliate link. Greatly appreciate it. And you could do that too. So 4121 41 assembly members, 21 senators, and 1 governor equals California reparations. That's the votes we will need in 2025 to make reparations a reality for lineage-based reparations. And just a quick reminder, American Freedmen Day is March 3rd. We will continually be reminding people that American Freedmen Day is March 3rd. So can't wait for that to come up. We're currently working on, hopefully we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll do like an event or something around that day, but be on the lookout for that. All right, so if you haven't had a chance, you can go check it out right now. I'm in the Mass Media Group. That's Reparations Education Advocacy Day. That stands for READ 2025. We were able to capture the press conference. So shout out to CJEC and everybody that showed up from all throughout California, in particular Southern California, San Francisco, Bay Area, Oakland, and Sacramento, etc. So thank you everybody for coming out. We really appreciate it. There was roughly 100, maybe more, supporters and actually advocates. And we actually went and visited every single politician, either a senator or assembly. And if we couldn't speak with them, then we had a chance to actually speak to one of their staff. So it was a great turnout, great event, and I'm so glad that it happened. And there's a lot to look forward to in 2025. But also I want to just give a prayer to those who are currently in Southern California. If you haven't heard, there's a couple of fires going on down there right now. I used to actually live in Los Angeles in particular, and it does get quite dry out there. So just prayers. Let's shout out some prayers and to our family down in Southern California. Please be safe. Please be safe, family. All right. And just make sure my audio is working before we get to reading. All right. Just make sure my audio is working. Okay, my audio is still good. All right, family. So thanks once again for joining. We are going to be reading California Bill SB 12. This is a read and a quick review. I'm not going to be too long-winded on this. I just pretty much wanted to read it. So the question is, are immigrants getting an agency but not American freedmen? For those who aren't aware, last legislative session here in California in 2024, on August 31st, 2024, the assembly, at the assembly floor, the CLBC decided to hold the bills instead of moving them to the floor for a vote. So one of those bills was actually the CAFA office, the CAFAA, I think it's a California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, that was authored by Senator Stephen Bradford, who termed out in 2024. So we are looking forward to the CLBC to bring these bills up. And if the CLBC will not bring these bills up in some form of fashion, as Senator Bradford once did, we will be looking for other politicians, either in the Senate or Assembly, to pick up where good Senator Bradford left off. All right, so actually, let's go to the bill real quick, and then we'll go back to this slide. So let me pull up the bill. Thanks once again, family, for joining. Let me see here, see if it pulls up. Yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah, please like, share, and subscribe when you have a chance. Okay, I think that should be good enough. All right, so this was introduced by Senator Gonzalez and co-authored by Senators Menjivar and Padilla. If I'm correct, all three of them were in office last year. So let's go ahead and actually look up some information regarding the author, Senator Lena Gonzalez. Looks like she's in her district is District 33. All right. That's parts of South Los Angeles to the coast, including the port of Long Beach and a significant portion of Long Beach. The demographics are white at 13%, black at 8.8%, 87%, Latino at 69%, which is close to 70, Asian at 6.51%. We also have the co-authors, Carolyn Menjivar, that's District 20. The district encompasses most of the San Fernando Valley section of northern Los Angeles, including Burbank, Van Nuys, and Reseda. The demographics are 15.7% white, 8.45% black, 68% Latino, and 6% Asian. Co-author Steve Padilla, District 18. The demographics are close to 30% white, 4% black, 56% Latino, and 8% Asian. The district stretches along the Mexico-United States border and predominantly includes rural Imperial Valley. All right, so let's get to this bill. All right, looks like this was originally authored December 2nd, 2024. All right. All right, here we go. An act to amend sections 12800 and 65050 of, and to add Article 15, commencing with section 12839 to Chapter 1 of Part 2.5 of Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code relating to state government. Legislative Council's Digest, SB 12, as introduced, Gonzalez State Government Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency, Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. So as we go forward, let's actually see what the California legislation has in mind for this particular affairs agency. Existing law designates 8 agencies in state government and requires the secretary of an agency to be generally responsible for the sound fiscal management of each department, office, or other unit within the agency. Existing law further requires the secretary of an agency to, among other duties, continually seek to improve the organization structure, the operating policies, and the management information systems of each department, office, or other unit. This bill would establish the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency as an agency within state government to be headed by a secretary who is appointed by the governor and subject to Senate confirmation. The bill would specify that the purpose of the agency is to reduce obstacles and enhance immigrant integration. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to repeat that. The bill would specify that the purpose of the agency is to reduce obstacles and enhance immigrant integration, as defined into the social, cultural, economic, and civil life of the state. The bill would establish the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs within the agency. The bill would declare the intent to incorporate existing and future programs created to assist immigrants and refugees into the office. Let me make sure my audio is good. The bill would establish the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs within the agency. Okay. The bill would transfer the property of any office, agency, or department that relates to functions transferred to the office by these provisions, and would transfer the unencumbered balance of any appropriation and any other funds that are available for use in connection with any function transferred to the office. Let's see here. The bill would also provide that every officer and employee who is serving in the state civil service as provided and who is transferred to the office shall retain the status, position, and rights. The bill would create the Immigrant and Refugee Integration Fund within the state treasury and would make the monies available in the fund available to the office upon appropriation by the legislature. This bill would establish the duties and responsibilities of the agency and the office, which includes, among other duties, establishing a permanent structure within the state to serve immigrants and refugees. Let me repeat that. It says establishing a permanent structure. I will repeat that. A permanent structure within the state to serve immigrants and refugees, assisting other state agencies in evaluating their programs for accessibility and effectiveness in providing services to immigrants and refugees, and recommending policy and budget mechanisms for meeting immigrant and refugee integration goals. The bill would limit interagency sharing of information, would prohibit sharing of personal information of immigrants and refugees outside of the agency, and would prohibit use of agency resources to directly or indirectly participate or assist in immigration enforcement activity. Existing law establishes a statewide director of immigrant integration and requires the director serve as a statewide lead for the planning and coordination of immigrant services and policies in California. Existing law requires, among other things, that the director develop a comprehensive statewide report on programs and services that serve immigrants, develop an online clearinghouse of immigrant services, resources, and programs, and monitor the implementation of statewide laws and regulations that serve immigrants. This bill would recast those provisions to rename the director as the statewide director of immigrant and refugee integration. The bill would require the director to report to the governor and the legislature on programs and services that serve immigrants and refugees by January 1st, 2026. And require the director to provide a statewide plan for better implementation and coordination of immigrant and refugee assistance policies and programs. The bill would require the director to monitor statewide laws and regulations that serve refugees in addition to immigrants. Existing constitutional provisions require that a state that limits the right of access to the meetings of public bodies or the writings of public officials and agencies be adopted with findings demonstrating the interest protected by the limitation and the need for protecting the interests. This bill would make legislative findings to that effect. Vote majority. Appropriation, no. Fiscal committee, yes. State mandated local program, no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Section 12800 of the government code is amended to read 12800A. There are in the state government the following agencies. All right, looks like some of that information was redacted or crossed out. Business, Consumer Services and Housing, Transportation, California Environmental Protection, California Health and Human Services, Labor and Workforce Development, Natural Resources, Government Operations, Corrections and Rehabilitation, Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. The secretary of an agency shall be generally responsible for the sound fiscal management of each department, office, or other unit within the agency. The secretary shall review and approve the proposed budget of each department, office, or other unit. The secretary shall hold the head of each department, office, or other unit responsible for management control over the administrative, fiscal, and program performance of the respective department, office, or other unit. The secretary shall review the operations and evaluate the performance at appropriate intervals of each department, office, or other unit, and shall seek continually to improve the organization structure, the operating policies, and the management information systems of each department, office, or other unit. All right, so if I'm correct, and for those that are on the live, in the replay, if I'm incorrect, please let me know in the comments. But it looks like to me there's going to be quite a few departments here, or within the immigrant services. Looks like there's going to be a business 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 9. Okay, so there's going to be wait a minute, is that correct? Hold on a second. There are in the state government the following agencies: Business, Consumer, Concerning, Transportation, California Environmental. Okay, I might have been reading that wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so they're just saying the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. If I'm correct, it's going to be added to this. All right. Anyway, let's continue. Section 2, Article 15, commencing with Section 12839, is added to Chapter 1 of Part 2.5 of Division 3 of Title 2 of the Government Code to read, Article 15, Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency 12839A, there is hereby created in state government the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency to be headed by a secretary. The governor shall appoint the secretary subject to Senate confirmation. The secretary shall serve at the pleasure of the governor. The governor may appoint 2 chief deputy secretaries of the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency, subject to Senate confirmation. The chief deputy secretary shall hold office at the pleasure of the secretary. The Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs is hereby established within the agency under the direction of the statewide director of Immigrant and Refugee Integration, appointed by the governor pursuant to Section 65050 12839.1. All right. For the purposes of this article, the following terms have the following meanings. A, agency means the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Agency. B, immigrant integration means the process of improving economic mobility for enhancing civic participation by and improving receiving society openness to immigrants. C, office means the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. D, secretary means the individual appointed pursuant to subdivision A of Section 12839. 12839.2a, the legislature finds and declares that immigrant integration requires an intentional process that incorporates the needs of immigrants, their families, and their communities into policies governing our cities, regions, and states. Because immigrants make significant contributions to their regions, immigrant integration is a dynamic, two-way process in which newcomers and the receiving society both have a responsibility for integration and both benefit as they work together to build secure, vibrant, and cohesive communities. B, it is the goal of this article to incorporate future and existing programs created specifically to assist immigrants and refugees into the office. Moreover, it is the intent of the legislature to place future programs to assist immigrants and refugees within the office. All property of any office, agency, or department that relates to functions concerning immigrant and refugee affairs is hereby transferred to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. If any doubt arises as to whether that property is required to be transferred, the Department of General Services shall determine whether any property is required to be transferred pursuant to this subdivision. Any unencumbered balance of any appropriation and any other funds that were available for use in connections with any function or the administration of any law transferred to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs by this article is hereby transferred to the office for deposit into the fund for the use and for the purpose for which the appropriation was originally made or the funds were originally available. If there is any doubt as to whether any funds are required to be transferred, the Department of Finance shall determine whether the transfer is required pursuant to this subdivision. E, every officer and employee of any office, agency, or department who is performing a function transferred to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and who is serving in the state civil service, other than as a temporary employee, shall be transferred to the office pursuant to the provisions of Section 19050.9. The status, position, and rights of any officer or employee of the former office, agency, or department shall not be affected by the transfer and shall be retained by the person as an officer or employee of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, as the case may be, pursuant to the State Civil Service Act, Part 2, commencing with Section 18500 of Division 5 of the Title 2, except as to a position that is exempt from civil service. 12839.3. The Immigrant and Refugee Integration Fund is hereby, wait a minute, fund? Hold up, I'm sorry, fund? They talking about money, y'all? Interesting. Note to self. Fund. All right. The Immigration and Refugee Integration Fund monies is hereby established within the state treasury. Monies transferred pursuant to division of Section C or C of Section 12839.2 shall be used for the purpose for which the appropriation was originally made. Other monies deposited into the fund shall be available to the office upon appropriation by the legislature for expenditures by the office to defray its expenses for administering this article. 12839.4. The agency's purpose shall be to enhance and reduce obstacles to immigrant integration into the social, cultural, economic, and civil life of the state. 12839.5. The director shall do all of the following: develop a mission statement, strategic plan, and matrix of successful office, establish a permanent structure within the state to serve immigrants and refugees, assist other state agencies in evaluating their programs for accessibility and effectiveness in providing services to immigrants and refugees, coordinate integration efforts among state agencies, and recommend policy and budget mechanisms for meeting immigrant and refugee integration goals. Engage stakeholders inside and outside of government to identify key integration opportunities and challenges, and to communicate the critical importance of immigrant and refugee integration for the success of immigrants, refugees, their children, the communities in which they settle, and of the nation as a whole. Develop and execute grant programs. Grant. If I'm understanding correctly, grant means free. Execute grant programs that directly support capacity building and training among state agencies in state and local communities through technical assistance, training, or organizing, and other programs. Identify effective practices and successful modes of delivering services to immigrant and refugee communities. Evaluate the need for improvements in the implementation and coordination of public policies relating to immigrant and refugee communities. Report to the legislature on a biannual basis on successes and challenges in meeting immigrant and refugee integration goals. 12839.6. The secretary may do all of the following. A. Inform the legislature of its position on any legislative proposal pending before the legislature and urge the introduction of legislative proposals. State their position and viewpoint on issues developed in the performance of its duties and responsibilities as specified in this chapter. Coordinate with local immigrant affairs offices to streamline services and maximize their impact. Create a clearinghouse of information and referral systems for services available to immigrants. Monitor the implementation of past legislation across different sectors as it relates to immigrants and refugees. Engage the federal government and federal agencies when appropriate to maximize effectiveness of services provided to immigrants and refugees. Make policy recommendations to the governor and the legislature. 12839.7. Interagency sharing of information shall be limited to demographics only. Personal information of immigrants and refugees obtained under this article shall not be shared outside the agency. The agency shall adhere to all applicable data protection laws in order to protect the information of immigrants and refugees, including but not limited to California Values Act, Chapter 17.2.5, commencing with Section 7284 of Division 7 of Title I. The California Religious Freedom Act, Chapter 5, commencing with Section 8310.3 of Division 1 of Title II, and Section 15160 of this code, and Sections 1653.5. 12800, 12801, 12801.5, 12801.9, 128.10, and 180.11 of the vehicle code. So a lot of numbers there. Okay, here we go. The agency shall not use any agency resources, including but not limited to agency funds, personnel, and infrastructure to directly or indirectly participate or assist in immigration enforcement activity. 12839.8. Any report required to be submitted to the legislature pursuant to this article shall be submitted in compliance with Section 9795, Section 3, Section 65050 of the Government Code is amended to read 65050A. There is hereby established a statewide director of immigrant and refugee integration. The director shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the governor. The director shall serve as the statewide lead for the planning and coordination of immigrant and refugee services and policies in California. The director shall do all of the following: develop a comprehensive statewide report on programs and services that serve immigrants and refugees. The report shall include both of the following: federal and state laws, regulations, and policies that create programs or authorize the access or participation of immigrants and refugees, including those without legal presence. Programs and services currently managed by a state agency or department to support California immigrants and refugees, including but not limited to naturalization services and other immigrant and refugee assistance programs, and the agency or department responsible for administering the funding or implementing the program. By January 1st, 2026, report to the governor and legislature on the programs and services described in paragraph 1 and a statewide plan for better implementation and coordination of immigrant and refugee assistance policies and programs. By July 10th, 2017, is that correct? Develop and maintain an online clearinghouse of immigrant services, resources, and programs. Maybe they meant 2027? I don't know. But anyway, as you can see, it says 2017. Monitor the implementation of statewide laws and regulations that serve immigrants and refugees. Section 4. The legislature finds and declares, or maybe they did mean 2017. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway. Let's continue. Section 4. The legislature finds and declares that Section 3 of this act, which adds Section 12839.7 of the Government Code, imposes a limitation on the public's right of access to the meetings of public bodies or the writings of public officials and agencies within the meaning of Section 3 of Article 1 of the California Constitution. Pursuant to that constitutional provision, the legislature makes the following findings to demonstrate the interest protected by this limitation and the need for protecting that interest. In order to protect the privacy interests of immigrants and refugees, it is essential to maintain the confidentiality of the records described in Section 3 of this Act. All right, that was the end of SB 12, Senate Bill 12. And that is the what's the Senate bill? Immigration and Refugees Affairs Agency, Office of Immigrant and Refugees Affairs. Now, what's very interesting, a couple things to note, but one thing that's really interesting is the fun part. I wonder how much, if this even passes through the Senate first, and then through the Assembly second, and then to the governor's desk third. Yeah, I wonder how much this is actually going to be funded. Obviously, this hasn't gone through the process yet, so we don't know as far as I'm aware. And also, I just wanted to note that, actually, I'm going to go back to the slide. Yeah, I also want to note that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe somebody knows something that I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, this immigrant agency bill, I mean, they didn't have to go through a whole 2 years of study that Freedmen had to go through. 2 whole years. Right? And before that, AB 3121 to establish the California Reparations Task Force. Okay? So that was additional year just to get that AB 3121 through. So yeah, so I mean, no commission, no nothing. Now, maybe there was a commission and maybe we just didn't pay attention and we're like, oh, okay, now they have this bill. I don't know. I'm not aware of it. Maybe other people are. But who knows? Who knows? Absolutely. Well, thanks, brother, for coming through. Always appreciate you. Money's. Yes. So please, if you haven't had a chance, read it yourself or just listen to it, right? And evaluate this. I didn't want to be here on too long. I mean, I think we're a little bit past a half an hour on this, but I just want to appreciate everybody taking the time because we have to be more aware of what's going through our legislative process. And actually, I want to give a shout out to Chair Camilla Moore for, I believe she's the one who actually gave me a heads up, if I recall correctly. It's like, hey, everybody, take a look at this one. So I think it's a good idea to hopefully compare what the CLBC will be coming out for the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. So far, we haven't heard anything, or I haven't heard anything about an agency or a fund yet that they are in support of. I know we're early in the legislative year in the process. I believe it's February 21st is the last day for bills to be submitted to go through the process. So we're going to keep our eye out on this one, SB 12, for sure. Anyway, family, thank you for joining. And as always, please stay safe, especially down there in Southern California and all across the world. You know, I know there's a lot going on, so you could be doing something else. So I really appreciate you actually tuning in and staying informed right here on Immigrants Media Group. And I will also, since our good brother Antonio Ray Harvey is here for California Black Media, I just want to actually give him a shout out, I should say, because he actually covered the press conference as well, held yesterday. So shout out to Antonio Ray Harvey. If you're on Twitter, social media, definitely check him out. He's doing great work. He's been steadily on boots on the ground, covering not only things dealing with the Freedmen community, but also sports and etc. So he's been doing this thing for a while. So I want to give him a shout out to that brother for sure. All right, you too, man. You too. All right, everyone. Well, you guys have a great evening, and we will be talking next time. I think we're going to actually be having, I don't know, this Sunday, maybe not, or maybe next week, but we actually have to start the road to reparations because there's a lot of legislators in the Senate and also in the Assembly that we need to cover, that we want to cover. So we're aware who's doing what. There's some new CLBC members. There's some chairs, legislative chairs, not actually headed, but music, not have the musical chairs that you play musical chairs and you switch, but political chairs. Right now, I know there's some. I think, like for example, Dr. Keila Weber, she was once with the Assembly, now she's with the Senate. So we're just going to be going through some of that stuff as well. Anyway, family, on that note, everybody have a wonderful evening. Please take care of yourself. And as always, peace, love, and light, and peace and reparations.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us.
This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I gotta show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.